We're continuing the process of producing a song from scratch. And this is a song by my friend Janine Camira called This Little Town. And in the last video, I showed you how I put together the chord chart for her song and some of the tools that I used to enable me to do that in a fairly quick manner. In this video, we're going to create the basic track. Now, rather than show you this whole process, because very often I'm trying different things, trying different ways of playing the song, and frankly, that can get kind of boring to watch. So I'm just going to show you a couple of the things that I did and why I did them that way. First, I'll let you in on a little secret. I used a little bit of a shortcut at the beginning here. The first chord I wrote was F, as you can see in the chord chart. I'll put that up real quick. You can see there that the first chord was F, but in reality, Janine was playing not just this, but she added this G, which is the second note of the scale. So in reality, this chord is F add 2. But rather than keep writing out F add 2, I used a little bit of shorthand for myself and just wrote F. So actually adding the G in there gives it a richer sound. And then the second chord, she didn't just play F suspended, which is nice, but she kept the G in there. And so we had these two very romantic, very rich sounding chords. Now she asked that I do something a little different than what she played, which was just a basic pattern. She wanted something a little different there. So I decided to create something that had a little bit more of a classical sound to it, and it ended up, after a little bit of experimentation, with something that sounded like this. And so that's the introduction. But I didn't want to keep playing that figure when she started singing because it would get in the way of the beautiful vocal line that she composed. And so then I went back and played something a little simpler. You see, my training as a pianist included a lot of work as an accompanist. In fact, that is my specialty as a piano player. I'm not a terribly enthusiastic solo piano player, although I do enjoy doing that. What I really love to do is play for singers and to work with songwriters. And of course, Janine is both a singer and a songwriter. And so I used this fancy introduction, kind of catch your ear at the beginning, and then when she starts to sing, I play something simpler. Whoops. Something correct. And I continue on in that vein, keeping in mind when she's singing and when she's not singing. I go back to the fancier part that I played at the beginning. So that introduction, you'll hear it, actually shows up again in between the verses. And then when I get to the bridge, I start playing something that's a little stronger. And then when we get to the climax of the song, that A7 chord, that's where everything stops and then we get softer. So you'll hear the dynamics that I put in to this basic piano track. So after I recorded the piano, I went in and added a fretless bass. Once again, I'm not going to show you that process because there's a bit of trial and error involved, and it can be a somewhat boring process to watch, but you'll hear the end result. And so you're going to end up now with a track with piano and bass, and then later on I'm going to add string parts. And the way I do those is I listen to the song and then I actually write down the parts that I think the strings should play. And then I'll experiment with playing those in, going with the rest of this track and see if it works. And then if it doesn't, I'll go back and rewrite it. But I like to actually write things down in proper notation because that's the way I was trained. Now, a lot of guys will do this by ear, and that's great too. Sometimes that just takes a little bit longer. What I'm going to do now is put the chord chart up on the screen, and we'll follow along with the track, and I will explain as we go what I was doing. After listening to Janine's original demo, I determined that the tempo is 60 beats per minute. All right, we're starting out with my fancy intro here, and you can hear the bass underneath. And now here's where the vocal starts, so I'm playing something a little more simple. I'm also keeping the bass part very straightforward, very simple. One of the challenges of doing this is I can't hear the vocal. I have to kind of hear it in my head. And now we're going to the B flat. So I'm using a lot of arpeggios in my accompaniment here. I have to remember that I stop halfway through this bar. Here's our introduction again. Now we're back into verse 2, and you'll notice that introduction was only 2 bars long instead of 4. Now I'm not playing this exactly the same way as I did the first time. It's very close, but there's just a few little variations to keep it interesting. But of course, your interest will really be held by the vocal. The bass line is slightly different. Then here's that pause at the C. Now we're into the we're into the second ending. And now we go into the bridge, and my playing becomes a little firmer, a little more solid. I had a few passing chords there between the F and the D minor. Well, one passing chord. Now we're coming up to the climactic A7. Now we bring the volume down a little bit, the intensity, because we're working our way back to the end of the song. Another pause here. Now we're back to the simple piano accompaniment because she is singing at this point. And then here we come to the ending and we start to slow down a little bit. We've come to the end of the song. Now I'm going to send this basic piano and bass track to Janine, and if she finds it suitable, she will record her vocals at her place. Then she's going to send those audio tracks of her vocals back to me, and I will finish the arrangement. I might add some strings or some other instruments, but exactly what I do will be shaped by the sound of her voice. Basically, we don't want to create anything in the arrangement that will step over or step on her voice, on her vocals, and detract from her singing. So that's where we are in the process so far. I hope you have found this interesting. If you have any questions or any comments, please be sure to leave those in the comment section below. I look forward to showing you how we finish producing this song from scratch.